Thanks for watching once again, and you're watching the Daily Debate live. Always a pleasure to have with us Dr. Mona Zaki, Strategic Thinking and International Marketing Consultant. Thank you, Dr. Mona, for coming.
Thank you.
And political sociologist, Dr. Saeed Sadek. Thank you very much, Dr. Saeed, for being here. Well, starting off, ladies first, as you said. Dr. Mona, tell me more about what does it mean, the economic conference for Egypt?
I believe that this is a great step for Egypt. Finally, after 2 revolutions, Egypt has a vision what is the vision for Egypt? Because I like very much the title of the conference, Egypt the Future, because in itself it's a very strategic title. The vision is to have a strong, independent, unified, secured Egypt. And to realize this vision and to really achieve the goals, we have to have a strategy, and we have to have tactics, and we have to have implementation. It's the normal 4 stages of any strategic management process. So once we decide the vision, and thank God that finally we have the leaders of the country with the most popular president, Sisi, and the people are united to realize this vision and to really make a difference. So the strategy for this vision is very clear. It's a comprehensive reform. This comprehensive reform includes all levels: the economic reform, the political reform, the social, the cultural, the educational, the religious reform. They include all those reforms. This strategy includes all those reforms. So when we take one by one the economic reform, we need a summit or a conference like the coming Egypt conference. For political reform, we need a lot, and this is achieving. It's really achieving for education, and we can see if we take one level at a time, we find really lots of reforms are going on. Back to economic reform, we feel it. The subsidy reform, the tax reform, the investment, new investment laws. We have lots of reforms. Lots of policies and lots of laws are coming. When we talk about political, we finally find a symmetrical relationship between the ruler and the people of the country. Finally, on political level, we find more democracy, we find more freedom of speech, we find more diversification of parties. On educational level, we find more a call for vocational training. We find change in educational curriculums. It's happening. On religious level, we find a lot of reform. We find more tolerance among Egyptians. We find more unity between Muslims and Christians now. We find lots of changes happening. So on social reform, the social welfare, on health care, you see, so those are all strategies that need to be implemented into steps and into actions. And one of those actions is the Egypt Economic Conference.
Right. Dr. Saeed, Dr. Mona says that the title in itself, the slogan in itself, Egypt the Future, is quite catchy in a sense, in an optimistic sense, if I can say.
As you know, the whole Arab area since the Arab Spring had suffered economically. You have, we don't talk today about failed states, we are talking about a failed vision. We can talk about Libya, Sudan, Iraq, Syria. And so it was very important that Egypt looks ahead. And who called for this conference in the first place? It was King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia. It was like a Marshall Plan for Egypt. And that shows you that, regionally speaking, Egypt is very important. This vision depends on several countries to stabilize it. Historically, it was Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. And in modern times, maybe Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states began to emerge. If you did not call for this conference, the first thing you should wonder, who is attacking this conference? Who is criticizing this conference? And why they criticize it? If you look at some of the Muslim Brotherhood media, they criticize it heavily. The wave of terrorism in Egypt in the last few months has had increased.
Definitely.
Why?
Because this conference is going to be a turning point.
It is one of the last nail on the coffin of the Muslim Brotherhood, like the parliament election. And now if you have the last leg in the Egyptian transition, after we had constitution, presidential election, now we have a parliamentary election, the economic conference is going to be the coup de grace, the final. The knockout, and so they are increasing terrorist attacks, they are increasing media campaigns against the conference, against the country. The so-called leaks that they are making a fuss about are all aimed at sabotaging the conference. But they are going to fail. Why? First of all, as I mentioned, the call for this conference came from Saudi Arabia, supported by Kuwait, the Emirates. I have 60 countries coming and 20 international organizations, including the IMF. We have seen very positive statement coming from the chairwoman of the IMF.
And the World Bank as well.
Of course. And so all those calls prove that this is something going to work. And all those attacks prove that we are on the right track. I mean, if they were not attacking us, then maybe we are doing something wrong. Now, when you see all these attacks and those campaigns and media and terrorism, then we must be doing something right. And so I think this is going to be success. What is the measurement of success for this conference? It is, you know, they will present, of course, a project, feasibility studies, and then to be financed. Now, I think the British are active because, you know, they already exist in the country, British Petroleum. Many of those companies that will also participate already exist in Egypt, so they know the environment. They are not affected by the negative media campaign coming from Istanbul or from Doha. They know the reality, not the propaganda of those countries. So the real measurement is what after the conference. If we get all those projects, you know, they get money and everything is done, then it's a big success. And it will be restoring international confidence to the Egyptian economy. And I think they're going to make it. I mean, I don't have any doubts that it will be a success because I have so many strong players are attending. And I see many, you know, measurements.
Still incentives are there on the table.
Yes, and as Dr. Mona mentioned, you know, the preparation for the conference, subsidies, taxes, a lot of very difficult medicine. President Sisi did it because he is popular, as she mentioned. He's very popular. If it was coming from somebody who was unpopular, he would not have stayed.
It wouldn't have, it wouldn't have had this effect. Professor Mona, 60 countries present. What a chance to market Egypt.
Yes. It's
So
ideal.
from the eyes of an international marketing consultant, how can we seize the opportunity?
It's a great opportunity, and I refer to what Dr. Saeed was saying about the intensive negative international campaign against Egypt coming from right and left from different countries against Egypt and against actually the unification of the Arabs together. So we have to interact very fast and so that we can make a balance at least. So we really need an intensive international marketing campaign, marketing not only the economic conference, but marketing the success story of Egypt and the success story of this unification of the Arabs together and the Arab leaders together and the people together. So we need to start by local media, because you cannot ask the international media to write positively about the country or the region without really having the local media encouraging this. And this needs a reform. Coming back to the reforms, we need a media reform system. The local media, it's this idea of freedom of speech. Yes, it's good to have freedom of speech, but there is a very fine line between freedom of speech and libel and slander cases. There's a very fine line between disclosure of information and national security. There's a fine line. we have to teach the code of ethics for media. We have to teach responsibility for media. So local media, either private channels and private sector media and national media, they need to work together. They are not enemies. So this needs a reform. Then we work on the international media. We need more of international campaigns. We have to buy space and time to say what we want. You see, I'm very much into this field with different media channels and newspapers. And in my case, for example, I really had to sponsor. I had to ask for sponsoring a balanced editorial and a balanced writing and balanced advertorial, so that we can have we can face the heavy negative campaign against the country and against the region. So we really need to pay money. We need to increase the budget for media. And ideally, I would love, it's a dream maybe, but I think we can do it, because if Arabs unite on an economic reform, I believe they can unite to create an international news channel. To face other international news channels that are directing their energy and their programs against Egypt and the region. I believe we need to have an English-speaking international news channel on regional level. It has to exist. We don't have that.
We have Nile TV International.
That's the point.
Yeah.
We really, I would love to see Nile
International further its
absolutely.
role.
This would be we have it here. So why not expand?
Why not invest?
Expand by investing more and more money to make it more international, to reach the world. You see, and to have the best investments in it. I believe it's worth it. So that's very important for international marketing, Egypt and the region.
Right. Dr. Sadek, you mentioned what's after the economic conference. It's very important, the sense of follow-up and building on what has been achieved. What after the conference? This is a question.
Well, this is a conference to do certain objectives. One is to restore international confidence in the Egyptian economy, and this is very important, and also to move the economy in the next. And so this is very important. You have to understand that this is not enough. I mean, it just would deal with certain projects, but I have to revive the other sectors. For example, tourism. The tourism sector used to be 10% of the GDP, and it had been suffering a lot in the last 4 years, and it's understandable. When you have political turmoil and travel advisory from several embassies, it is not easy. But it is coming back because I still have the pyramids. Nobody has pyramids in the world. I have very important seas, the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Sinai, a lot of things that I can use very well. I mean, Dubai gets 12 million tourists. I can get more than that with all this, treasures that I have. I just have to, as Dr. Amona mentioned, about branding a country, promoting a country. How do you sell your country to the international market? And so this is very important. What you mentioned about the media is very important. I don't have something like Euronews. I don't have Arab news. Sometimes you have countries and they have their own agenda. I mean, Qatar has its own agenda. The agenda may be not in the interest of the Arab world or other countries. They just want to serve their own interests or serve others' interests, which is not yours. So, of course, the media are very important, but you have to go through all sectors in society. I'm optimistic, especially with what happened today, the cabinet reshuffle. It came after a lot of hope that things happen, and it just happened. And that is, some are critical. Oh, why does it happen before the Sharm el-Sheikh conference? And on the contrary, because you do it now, you are just showing and you are sending a message. We are serious about investment, we are serious about reform, we are serious about the future. We don't care about the timing. If we wait, you are waiting too long. If you do it now, you are doing too fast. Again, you will always have critics. And the most important thing is what are your objectives and are you going to achieve them or not? Egypt can make it. Egypt really can make it. If we just restore back our confidence. What is the aim of any terrorist movement? First, to destabilize the country, to create a wedge between the people and the government.
And send a negative image, market a negative image, that things are not stabilized.
This is what we really want to reach and tell the world, that Egypt will never die. If they kill anybody, if we all get that, Egypt will still be alive. So this is very important message to the world, that, and we need to talk about it. We need to say that, no, Egypt will survive in spite of, because we have a vision. We will, when you think strategically, you define your goals. When you act strategically, you achieve them. And this is what we're doing.
How can we think and act strategically?
Oh, that's
while we are having this important and big event on Egyptian soil.
Absolutely. No, that's the whole point, is to have this vision, and you materialize this vision into strategy and tactics, into implementation and communication actions, into evaluation as well, because you were asking what after the economic forum. I would love to see that this economic forum would become like Davos Forum, an annual event, and every year we display number of projects. Like this year we have wonderful mega projects, and we did not exclude the SMEs as well. Youth are involved, entrepreneurs are involved.
What is interesting is our new projects at the same time are there, like
absolutely
the new Suez.
That was very strategic, you see, because you were asked about the thinking and the acting.
Right.
That was very strategic. That before the implementation of the conference, already strategic movements happened, because the vision is there. So that's the whole thing about it, and I'm very optimistic about the conference. And in spite of all the terrorist attacks, on the contrary, it makes us stronger. And that's the whole point.
And
that's
adamant to achieve, and adamant to move forward.
And as Dr. Saeed was saying, it shows that we are really on the right track, because you can see the disappointment of the others.
The enemy.
Yeah, of the enemies. Yeah. So talking further, Dr. Saeed, we were talking about countering terrorism and the important need for a social or a national plan in order to put this in place.
You see, what Egypt needs is a national counter-terrorism strategy written, and every sector will put policy, objectives, tactics. So follow Dr. Mona, strategic thing.
Yeah.
So, for example, education, syllabus, teachers, what do I do? If I look at media, how do we cover terrorist news? I don't have in any faculty of mass communication in Egypt a course on media and terrorism up to today. Even within national universities, private universities, foreign universities, they don't do anything.
Indirectly, sometimes you find media.
Sometimes you feed.
Exactly.
You feed what they are doing.
Programs on
if it's not dealt with professionally, I mean.
We don't have a manual.
The terrorists as guest speakers. Guests in the program, it's as if you are celebrating them.
As if you are Al Jazeera. So anyway, you don't have a manual for the media how to cover terrorist news, for example. You don't become the postman. This is very important. Security. How do I train my security? How do I deal with terrorism? The police academy. Of course, they have some courses on terrorism, but this needs to be improved. The weapons, they cannot let the terrorists have longer range weapons than the police. This is not acceptable. Remember, you have to also study other countries. What did they do?
Lessons learned from others' experiences.
Take the Irish, the real IRA, and the wave of terrorism happened in Britain. 1967, 1997, the Troubles, what they call the Troubles. And they used to do the same tactic that we have today, like planting bombs. I have 70% of terrorism in Egypt planting bombs, because it's very easy and it has an impact. You just throw it on the garbage or anything. So what did the British do? They cleaned the country. They made sure that nothing. It's one of the tactics that should be done, but again, it's effective. So this is very important. And as we know, that terrorism is not only local. Now, the modern terrorist movement is also internationally linked. This is what is called the fifth wave of terrorism. The first wave was 1880 until 1920, and the anarchist wave that hit Europe. The second wave, 1920, 1960, this is the nationalist wave against foreign occupation. The third wave, 1960, 1980, this was a new left wave, like by the Meinhof brigades in Japan, the Action Directe in France, and then the religious wave, 1979 until 2000. Now we are living in this fifth wave, which is the network religious wave like Al-Qaeda and Daesh. This is from 2001 until probably it would end by 2020, probably, because you have no international interest in fighting this movement. But I don't see a movement internationally to put pressure on some governments, like the Turkish government, like the Qatari government, who provide oxygen for the terrorist movement. You know, as Margaret Thatcher said, the oxygen of terrorism is media. And as Ayman al-Zawahiri said, half of the battle is media.
Yes.
And they provide the oxygen.
It's very important.
In a way or another.
Because
Dr. Mona, you want to comment?
Yeah, because in the implementation stage of this process is, as we are discussing the media, you know, there is a whole study called How to Brainwash a Nation. You can brainwash a nation through media, indirectly, and this is exactly happening in different countries and very, very developed countries.
Right. Back to the economic conference and in ensuring that the sense of incentives that we put on the table. How do you see the incentives that Egypt is offering?
Very promising, because as we were just saying, that some projects have already started, like the new Suez Canal.
Right.
This is really great.
And we have a package of
absolutely
investment projects.
And as I quote President El-Sisi regarding we need non-traditional projects. We need to think out of the box. So that was really for a change to find a president asking the professionals and the experts to think outside the box. And, you know, projects, for example, we have plenty already on the table, but projects such as desalination, we have a problem of water. Why not investing more in desalinating water, in recycling water, in finding other options to have water? Yes, the Nile, our Nile is great, and we cannot live without our Nile, but we still have to find other options. You see, this is very important to go on and find more options, like in energy, renewable energy. You can have even energy from rice straw, you know. You can have energy from recycling, garbage. So we need to think outside the box. And there are lots of incentives. And as Dr. Saeed was saying, those projects are very much well studied, with feasibility studies, with business development plans, and very professional way, and they are really on the table, and investors are coming from different countries with the good intention. And this brings me to a point: we have countries from the States, from England, from France, from different countries, and this brings me to a very, of course, including the Arab countries, our dear brothers from the Arab countries. But delegations coming from countries that we have the impression, or we have the attacking all the time, such as the States and some European countries, and so there is a huge difference now, and I can see it, a division between the people of the country and the leaders of the country. And this we have to put a very big underline, including Turkey, the president of Turkey and the people of Turkey. We have lots of good economic relations with Turkey. This does not mean that we boycott those treaties, economic treaties and economic agreements with Turkey because their president hates Egypt, or their president has a personal problem with our president.
We're talking business.
This is very important. And the same with, by the way, the same with the States. If Obama doesn't like Egypt, it doesn't mean that the Americans don't like Egypt. On the contrary, Americans love Egypt. American people are against the policies that is happening from Obama's administrations. So it's, we have to make a point here that there is a huge difference between a leader of a country and the people of the country. And this is what we have a plus in our Egypt, that this difference does not exist, this gap that does not exist anymore, because the president of Egypt is in symmetry and corresponds very well with the aspirations and the needs and the demands and the hopes of the Egyptians. And they work together symmetrically. It's a two-way communication model. And this, they are united for one vision together. So this is really a great plus in Egypt.
Right. Dr. Saeed, how are we working on providing investors protection? How will this conference be a launching pad for restoring this sense of confidence and also thinking outside of the box, as Dr. Mona said?
The Prime Minister has signed just now the new investment law, which supposedly will be much better than the existing law. So we have to see. We haven't seen the full text yet, but we think that they are taking into consideration the the remarks made by the investors, and it would respond to their needs. So we'll see how this would come out in the end. And I believe that I'm optimistic. I don't believe it's we're not doing bad. We are doing very well, and despite all the media campaigning and the psychological war against us.
Right. Dr. Mona, embarking on the number of the mega projects and putting this in front of investors on the table, how can this those sense of projects open a varied economic opportunities before investors?
Yes, of course. It's a great opportunity for investors. It's a win-win game.
A win-win situation.
Absolutely. It's a win-win. And that's, investors will never come unless they know that they are getting something very, very positive in return. Plus, the market is really open now, and we have, I have to give lots of credits to our Prime Minister as well. He comes from a very good background, a business background, an engineering and construction background, and this, he knows he's down to earth. So he's really he's on the move, and he's fast. So this is a plus as well. So, and the team surrounding him, they know what's going on. With the new investment law, with the new encouragement, with the new tax laws, those are all encouraging laws to invite investors to come as foreign direct investors. And also we have the PPP, the public-private partnership. So we need to work on this, and we have, of course, the national investments. And this will definitely have a great positive impact on employment in Egypt, on youth in Egypt, on the psychology of youth, on professionals in Egypt, and it will flourish. And hopefully that we will have better economy, better business, more secure people as well, less poverty. We need to attack different targets here with the remote areas and all the new governorates and all those reforms happening. So I'm very optimistic too. I'm really very optimistic. And I always say we do our best and we trust God for the rest. And I quote the Pope, Pope Tawadros, when he said, if the world is in the hands of God, Egypt is in the heart of God. And I'm really, when it comes to this, I'm very optimistic because Egypt is Egypt.
Egypt is Egypt. Egypt attractive for investment. How about eradicating bureaucracy, Dr. Saeed? Bureaucracy, and in a sense or in a way or another, it's co-relevant also to your field, sociology. How does it affect? How do they interrelate? How can we? It drains definitely investors' time and energy. How can we work on that?
Again, the new law. It's like a smart government, doing business online instead of going through the bureaucracy, the red tape. Of course, the red tape is a big obstacle in Egypt and in many developing countries, because you have the bureaucracy, they have their own interests. And so if you don't give me the bribe, I can make it very easy, the process of how your company works or not. I mean, compare it, for example, with the situation in the Emirates. You can finish in one day everything, and you just check you for security, and that's it. Then you are, voila, you are free to start
Ready
business.
to launch, yeah.
Here, we put a lot of obstacles. You have to go several
Procedures.
and in several departments instead of one place where you can put everything and finish. You have to go through different branches of government to rubber stamp here, and also.
How about the pace with which we are working in order to handle this? Because this is very important if we're talking about investment.
You need, well-paid clerks and well-supervised and watched over, and the process should be very transparent and clear and not ambiguous, because this is where the bad bureaucracy functions. I mean, you need bureaucracy, but you don't need this bad, cumbersome bureaucracy that wants to waste time and wants to benefit from the system. Bureaucracy sometimes saves you from disasters so that nobody can penetrate, but at the same time it can hinder development. It can make things very difficult for anybody to process. Why should I come here and not go to Hong Kong or some of those countries that are emerging markets in Asia? At least in the Arab Spring countries, Egypt and Tunisia are making it. I mean, look at the situation in Libya or Syria or Iraq or Yemen. So at least we are doing much better. Of course, this is not a good comparison, but at least, I don't live in the Pacific. I mean, Egypt is not located in the Atlantic Ocean, or our neighbor is not Monte Carlo or the Cayman Island or Hawaii. These are our neighbors. This is our area. We have to act on this basis. And I think I'm optimistic. I mean, the Egyptian people had survived a lot of disasters. And I think we are making it, no matter what the enemies are doing or the propaganda with planning, we are making it.
Dr. Muna, the investment window or the one-shop window, how is it facilitating the whole process, in your idea?
I hope,
opinion.
I hope it will be realized, and people will, because I hope this time it will succeed. This time, because of the efforts. Honestly, they have been working on it very hard, and I think.
Do you see challenges before it's being achieved?
Yeah, because try and error, of course, and but it will be realized. Here for investments, I must say, back to the security issue, it's very important. It's really very important to tackle security in a very firm way. Because law has to be reinforced, and people have to respect what is law, because the lack of punishment and
accountability, the sense of accountability.
The increase of exceptions also have destroyed respect for the law. So we have to be very careful here, and this is very important, and this will influence the investors coming. So with the one-stop shop investment, I believe it will work, and things will get better. There is no other way. It has to succeed, and this makes me very optimistic too. But this brings me to the evaluation stage, because while implementing, you have to evaluate. Because if something goes wrong, you have to step back and change your tactics at least.
Definitely.
So this is very important.
Assess the whole situation.
Absolutely. You have three kinds of assessment. During the implementation, or before, of course, while it's still on the plan, you have to study and do your homework as research. Then during the implementation, then after the implementation, did it work? And if it didn't, if we had something, negatives or some, faults happened, we have to be very careful for next conference to avoid and to overcome. So the evaluation is very important for accountability and for future success.
Right. Dr. Saeed, what's your expectations for what will happen? Are we going to achieve something like Davos, maybe forward, not maybe this time, but we need to build on that?
Yeah.
You see, the Gulf states have a vested interest that Egypt succeeds. Nobody wants to have a failed Egypt, because a failed Egypt is not like failed Libya or Syria. I mean, remember Ayman al-Zawahiri,
It's the heart.
from Nigeria. So,
Yes.
so they have a vested
Absolutely.
interest. They have to make it because it is also in their interest. Also internationally, I don't think anybody wants to have a disaster on the Mediterranean. The EU, for example, doesn't want to see Egypt failing. They don't want illegal immigrants, they don't want terrorists, they don't want all this. So investment in Egypt would save them a lot of trouble. So it is also precautionary measure, and they have to do it. The Gulf states have to do it also because they have an interest. You don't live today alone. Every country is interdependent. So if something happens, it will affect the whole world. If anything happens in Iran or Iraq or Saudi Arabia, the whole world will pay. And so it's not easy. If you say that we are too far away and others will not be affected, remember Afghanistan, that nobody thought anything would come from it, and they did what Emperor Hirohito in Japan could not do, or Hitler couldn't do. Osama bin Laden did it from a cave in Afghanistan. So you have to realize that today you cannot afford ignoring a country or not investing and say, I'm rich, I don't care about you, and I don't give a damn. No, you will have to, otherwise it will come. Like environment problem. If you don't care about the environment, the environment will take care of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Mona,
Yeah.
your expectations.
Yes, we need to work more on public diplomacy, people to people. We need to open doors with the people of different countries, because as Dr. Saeed was saying, it's all integrated. All countries are integrated. So we feel what's going on, the global economy, the global market. It's all now, with the globalization, we live in one global village. So this is very important. My expectations that this conference is a gate to this, to people, to public diplomacy, to talking. It will attract international media exposure, and it will cover, at least, it will cover the opening speech of the president. His speech at the United Nations, for example, was an excellent speech, and it did make a huge, wonderful, positive impression worldwide. So this will attract a good attention from international media. So my expectations that they are very positive expectations, more public policy, more open doors, more people to people, more soft power, you see, more media, more culture, more not just on economic level and business and investments, but also on human level. We need to talk to others. We need to be more tolerant. Respecting, accepting not only, different countries with the same religions or whatever, but we work with the Chinese who worship other gods. We work with the Japanese. We work with
opening doors
with
the whole
tolerance.
world with a sense of tolerance. Actually, the chance is there. We need to seize the opportunity. Well, unfortunately, our time is out. But it has been a really interesting discussion here. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mona Zaki, a strategic thinking and international marketing consultant. It has been a pleasure having you, Mona.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Saeed Sadek, a political sociologist. Thank you very much, Professor.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about the step forward, the backbone of economic growth, Egypt's economic conference. We're looking forward to seizing an opportunity of success, inshallah, before the whole world. Thanks for watching. That was the Daily Debate for tonight. And I'm Tagreed Hussein. Thanking you all for watching.